Hey everybody, welcome to my first tutorial. It's Mr. Verzinga on getting some graphics going in C++. So I have my little dev folder here, and I'm going to go to code blocks. By the way, all of this is linked in my Google Classroom to the first video that I sent, so you can get this at home if you don't have it already. So I'm going to go to code blocks. I'm going to click CB launcher, just like we do at school. Let that load. While that's loading, I want to talk about the graphics library that we're going to use. And graphics isn't included with C++, and that's because when Windows does graphics, it does it very differently than how a Mac would, or how a Chromebook would, or how a Linux computer would. It uses different commands, and so what you have to do is find someone who's created a nice graphics library for you, and then you include it the same way you include IOStream, or the same way you include math. This is a great library. It's called SFML, Simple and Fast Multimedia Library. I think it's very, very well written. It's supported by a big community of people. The website's great. There's even some tutorials that you can learn about. I've already got it all set up and working for you guys. I'll show you that right now. I'm just going to go to create a new project, and you can click on SFML project right here and hit go. Give it a name. Look, mine defaults to S:. That would only work at the school, so I'm just going to, I'll just save it to my desktop probably. Let's make a new folder. I don't want that there. No. Delete. Got all kinds of stuff on here. Why don't I save it in, I'll save it in my C++ folder, I don't care. For now. And I'll give it a name like first day or something like that. Sounds good. We'll call the project graphics. Doesn't matter what you call it. Hit next. Hit finish. You know the drill. And you'll see that your files are here. Your main is here. And it should all be set up to run some graphics for you. There's the include statement I was talking about. And if I hit F9 and run this, wow, amazing. I get a green circle on the screen. I still get this cool console window, and that's going to be useful for debugging. I can like see out stuff to it, just like I've always been doing. I can use the cin command to get information. I can print things when I need to. If I close this, my whole program will close. Also, it opens a Windows window. SFML has created a window for us. Let's see how it does that. I've got some decent comments here. The first line of code in this main says, creates a window on the screen that is 800 by 600, and it uses this variable type called render window. If I type render window, you can see that it auto types. It's a new type of variable. I gave my variable, it's actually called an object, but I'm just going to call it a variable for now. I gave it the name window, and then in brackets I gave it some of the things that it needed, and some of these will be fairly self-explanatory as you run it. The next line of code allows that window to run 60 times a second, or refresh itself 60 times a second. You don't have to put that in there, but for now I like to keep it in there so that all of our programs kind of run at the same speed when we're moving these shapes around. Okay, the third line of code is this variable type called circle shape. I've given it the name shape, and then it's more than just a variable. Actually, it's called an object or a class in C++. Much like strings that we've seen, when you hit dot, there's tons of functions that you can do on this. There's a lot of set commands to set the color and set the outline thickness is a good one, set its position, set its radius, all that kind of stuff. So just to be really basic for now, I set its radius to 100, and I could change that. Let's say I change that to 500. It's all in pixels, by the way. Let me just run it again. Whoa, a 500 radius pixeled green circle. It actually kind of looks like a polygon. I think by default, when SFML draws a circle on your screen, it gives it like, it's like a polygon with 30 sides. You can actually change that too if you want. Pretty much change anything you want. You can change the color, shape.setFillColor, and then you can actually just pick any color you want for now. There's a bunch of set ones in there. If you hit color, the word color, and then colon, I think there's like 6 or 7, red, green, magenta. Let's try magenta, see what that looks like. The pink circle, wow. Okay, now this is kind of the main loop of the game we're running. It's a while loop. It's using the variable window and the function that goes along with that variable that checks to see if the window is open. It also uses a keyboard command to check that you're not pressing the escape key. I just do that so that you can close your window really quickly by pressing escape. We'll learn more about keyboard stuff later. Don't worry too much about this little block of code. It's an object called event, and I've just given it the same name, event, lowercase. And what an event is when your window is open is it's checking if you're pressing the mouse, it's checking if you're pressing the keyboard, it's checking if you're closing your windows or moving your windows around the screen. It's using this poll event command to check if anyone's doing anything with that window, which can be important for us later on. You don't really want to put any code in this while loop right now. We got a while loop inside of a while loop, and that could cause some issues that would make our program really, really slow. So the next 3 lines, we clear the screen every frame. Every time this thing runs, keep in mind this while loop is trying to run 60 times a second. Okay, so all of this code is looping 60 times a second. For now, it's just drawing it's using window.draw to draw the name of the object that we've created called shape. And this window.display, we'll learn about that later on as well. What it does is these draw commands draw all of the stuff that we want to draw basically to the video card's memory, but it doesn't put it on the monitor. The reason why is it waits till it gets this window.display command, and then it puts everything on the monitor all at once. That way you don't get like weird flashing and weird little artifacts on your screen, because if you were to draw, if the computer were to draw everything as it got the draw command, everything would be like, it wouldn't be timed right. It would draw things out of turn and mess up the program. So we'll see later on if we don't put this window.display what happens. Okay, so that's just like a really basic overview. See if you can get that working. See if you can get that to draw a picture. Check out the lab on basic graphics. There's some things it wants you to do with that shape. For instance, I have shape. You see that at auto types. If I hit dot, let me try a command like, I believe the command is move. So I'm going to go under M. By the way, the green ones are the ones you can use. The red ones we'll learn about later they're called private variables and private functions, and we can't tap into those. But the SFML library uses them. Okay, so when I hit .move, it auto types 2 options for me. One where it uses this const vector 2f offset. Not going to use that one. We're not going to get into that just yet about what a vector 2f is in SFML, and keep it really simple for now. I like the second one that allows us to use 2 floats. One in the X and one in the Y. So if I just want to move it 5 pixels every frame in the X and 0 in the Y, I'll run that code and let's see what happens. Whoa, it moves 5 pixels every frame. So if I'm running 60 frames a second and I'm moving 5 pixels every frame, this thing's moving about 300 pixels a second. And since my screen has a width of about 800 pixels here, it takes about 2.5 seconds to move off the screen, maybe 3. Okay, so have a look at that lab. Let me know how it goes. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. But I want you to just, keep your brains moving along with some coding, and it shouldn't take you long at all. Thanks.